What's up, everyone? We are live. For those that are tuning in, make sure to drop some comments. But super excited to have you all here for the first episode of the People First Playbook. Um, we're excited for this one. So we're going to be talking about building a people first product launch for Testimonial Hero. Um, if you do have questions, make sure to drop them in the chat. We are going to get to those. But for those that don't know, my name is Nick Bennett. I am the co-founder over at TAC, and I'm joined by Andy from Dragon 360. I'll let him give a quick intro in a second. I wanted to talk real quick about the show theme, why we started this show. And so the whole idea is to, in 30 minutes, we're going to take a campaign and we're going to build it from scratch right before your eyes. I honestly don't know if this has ever been done before, to be truthful with you, but we're going to try it. We want to have people submit stuff. We've got some really great submissions so far. And I think that our goal is to create an integrated strategy using the resources that you already have, making these campaigns come to life using a budget savvy, creativity, and people first approach. So hopefully by the end of this, you'll feel energized, you'll feel excited. And Andy, anything you'd like to add?
Yo, 30 minutes, man. I don't know. We'll see if we get through this. But to your point, so just to give a little intro about myself, I'm president and CEO of Dragon 360. We're a full service agency that focuses on B2B and elevating them to the potential that we know that they can get to in their growth journey. So, as Nick mentioned, we're going to take questions throughout. If we have time, we'll get back to them at the end. Throw them in the chat whenever you have a chance. So we'll be able to see that going on at the same time. And then also, we'll circle back to this at the end, but we're going to have future episodes here. This is a weekly series that, as Nick mentioned, we're going to be doing. So any other campaigns you guys got, any other ideas, things like that, feel free to reach out. Feel free to DM Nick and I, and we'll go from there. So to kick things off here, let's see. Today's campaign, as you mentioned, is submitted by Dustin Tysick, who is the VP of Revenue over at Testimonial Hero. Now, I had no idea who Testimonial Hero was until he reached out, and I started to check it out. And I'm not going to lie, it's pretty freaking cool. So Testimonial Hero, for anyone that doesn't know, is exactly what it says it is. It creates heroes out of your testimonial videos, whether that's customers, employees, or anybody else out there that you need to capture a testimonial from. They're your guys. What they do is they accelerate decision-making and elevate that brand's video content by creating done-for-you strategic video campaigns and testimonials. Again, of customers, employees, things like that. Now, what's cool about them is they do both remote and on-site testimonial captures. But what we're going to be talking about here today is actually a new product that they've brought to market through self-capture. And what self-capture is allowing a person to do is do basically just what it describes. Capture that testimonial through an automated, succinct, efficient process of getting self-submitted videos. And then not just that, but here's the real value add that I think we're going to talk through a lot about today, is using Testimonial Hero's service on top of that self-capture to professionally edit and tell the narrative and story that, as we know, is so key to so many testimonials. Now, the other thing, too, that I'll jump in here when we think about positioning and all those nuances with a product launch that come to mind is think about the full gamut here as far as the market is concerned. The market is saturated to an extent of video platforms that exist out there, Vidyard, Zoom, et cetera, where you can, hop on a call, get that information, and then the work is on you to spit out what it's going to look like. It's on you or the resources that you have at your availability. And then on the other end of the spectrum is those fully managed premium services that exist out there for thousands and thousands of dollars of going on site or having a production crew kind of roll out the red carpet for your customers and your employees. But Testimonial Hero with self-capture lives right in the middle of that, where it is a premium offering, but it's not so premium as to be overly cost prohibitive. And I think that's the big thing here is when we think about the challenges that exist in the market and how we develop that narrative, it comes back to all of that. Now, Nick, I know Dustin reached out with some challenges that they have internally when they're kind of thinking through this campaign. Do you want to touch on those?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think there's a few things that we need to consider when we think about this people first approach. And both, Andy and I are huge believers in people first, which is a huge shift for a lot of companies that are maybe still operating in that company first mindset. So, the big things are there's really kind of two big challenges that they're facing. So, resources and budget. So, both are super lean. So the whole concept and theme of season 1 of this show is basically, let's get scrappy. How do you get scrappy to really maximize the impact? And let's be honest, I mean, I've worked in tech for, 12 years. Like, that's the story of everyone's lives right now. Like, no one has budget. No, and if you do have budget, it's very, very limited. So resources and budget are the first challenge. The second challenge is really around product education. And so I think right now, buyers have the option of paying a company like Testimonial Hero, say $3,000 and $9,000 per video, and have a live interview conducted, premium editing, or they go with a competitor like Vocal Video or Vouch, and you could pay $50 to $100 a month to go self-serve. So I think this new offering is kind of in the middle, and it's essentially the ease of self-serve with the power of professional editing and storytelling. And let's be honest, like I've used, I know Dustin, I've used the product before. It's fantastic. As a marketer, as a B2B marketer that has been responsible for customer marketing, even like testimonials are how, I mean, the social proof is how companies thrive in today's world. So with this new offering being like right in the middle and essentially the ease of self-serve with the power of professional editing and storytelling, we need to find a way to ultimately draw that parallel to full-on self-serve and educate why editing and storytelling is important. And I think the important piece there is like storytelling. Storytelling in today's world is incredibly important. As someone that's been creating content on LinkedIn now for about 4 years, I can tell you that storytelling has been a huge piece of my life and bringing kind of products, services, and everything to life. And so I think the ask, and Dustin kind of reached out, was they want to take a people first approach to find a way to generate as much exposure of this awesome new product as possible to their target audience through nearbound marketing, with ultimately the outcome to generate influence book sales calls. And now a few things there. Shout out to the guys at nearbound.com. Huge believer of nearbound marketing. Will Taylor and I were actually just talking about this the other day. Definitely awesome. And I do believe there is a market for this specific product. So Andy, going back to like that people first, we know that starts with people. So like, let's dive into on your side, audience and kind of some additional problem, pains, and challenges that we can solve for Testimonial Heroes specific audience.
Yeah, I mean, that's where it all starts, right? Thinking about who we're trying to affect, influence, and ultimately impact with what we're going to market with. So the audience here for this campaign is B2B SaaS companies that are kind of middle size on the smaller side, maybe 50 to 250 employees, primarily in the US. And then we think about the people that are in those decision-making and buying committee roles. It's people like the director of marketing, the head of demand gen, head of content, head of product marketing. And I think the other kind of opportunity that lies within that title set is the key gateways to customers or the employees that you're actively going to be using within the videos, right? Those gatekeepers, those key influencers, and really the ones that know the testimonial giver the best. So customer success, maybe director of HR, or even when we think about, it could go down a rabbit hole here when we think about like supervisors and things like that. But I think when we think about customer testimonials and the relation back to sales, AEs, director of customer success, all those other tangible people that are going to be part of that stakeholder outcome. We can't lose sight of that. Now, when we think about what lies underneath the surface there, right? What are these people really pained with? What are they challenged with when it comes to, in this case, testimonials? Well, we all know, as Nick mentioned, right? Testimonials are a key asset for any business. Again, whether it's sales, whether it's talent acquisition through HR, all of those various use cases. But the challenge that I've personally seen, I think Nick's seen firsthand, is twofold when it comes to actually creating these things, right? It's the coordination of the actual process, right? Making sure they don't look like crap, honestly. And that really goes for written and visual content. And then the other piece of it is the actual costs and the methodologies and the outputs. So as the CEO, right, of a company, the last thing I want to see is a crappy sounding or looking testimonial that goes out there. It's a poor representation of what I am and what we are as a business. And it's a poor representation of what we do as a business. So I think any leader is going to agree with that. And I think that's pain number one, right? Creating testimonials that look sexy and sell at the end of the day. That's what we have to be doing as a value output there, which circles back to the other challenge of coordinating the testimonials in the first place, right? How difficult is it for, to schedule a meeting alone, let alone hop on a video call, start to prep somebody, plan out what it's going to look like, making sure that you don't have kids walking in behind you, and all those other nuances that make the creation of an asset such as this so key, but also so difficult. There's lots of headaches that go into that. And when you go on site for production value and things like that, obviously complexity and cost skyrocket. So I think headaches and costs is that pain number two when it comes to bringing something like this to life. Now, Nick, you and I talk a lot kind of behind the scenes about triggering events, right? What's going to make someone actually take the step, or what's a triggering event that makes somebody think, oh, I got to start looking at that. And in the case of Testimonial Hero, like what's going to make someone look for testimonial videos, software, or products?
Yeah, I mean, as someone, I mean, I think ultimately there's a few for me. So like you need to identify a need. So whether it's a gap in sales and marketing material, hiring initiatives, 2024 planning, which, we're 2 months away from a new year. And we're probably, I mean, most companies I've been talking to, they're very knee deep in like 2024 planning, content creation opportunities. I think this is more about filling a need rather than replacing an existing asset. And like for me, again, I think it goes back to showcasing why social proof actually matters through the educational aspect of it. Like when I can showcase how someone feels, how someone needs, I think that's really important because one, as a marketer, it allows me to work with additional people. It allows me to showcase and highlight people. And that's just external. There's so many internal use cases as well. The second piece is, I think, realizations. So let's be honest, funny enough, Mark Huber actually put out a post about this today. And he was talking about how like the traditional customer case studies and testimonials are so like outdated, and how like no one trusts a vendor's case studies anymore. And I asked him, I said, what would you do differently? And he gave a list on the LinkedIn post. It was probably about like 15 different things of like how he would look to purchase based off of testimonials and people talking about the product. And it was really interesting. I was like, oh, it's funny because we're actually talking about this live today. But let's be honest, low quality, like, is it making an impact? And you don't, the phones in today's world, like I have an iPhone 14 and like the camera on that is like better than most things. And like, yeah, for this, I'm using a DSLR, but like, you don't have to go out and buy a fancy camera like I did. The quality is there, and written only in an ever-growing visual world, it just becomes so crowded. Like, how do you stand out? It's the same as like people that are looking to like, grow their audience on like these social media channels. It's like, you have to stand out somehow. When you have crisp videos that are well done, that are beautiful to look at, like shout out to, there was a video I was watching the other day. I don't even remember the name of it, but I was like, wow, this is so good. It's like nice and crisp. It's clear. I understand what the product's doing. It was only like a 30-second video, but I was like, wow, this is really great. So I think because Testimonial Heroes like self-capture product is more than just like a run-of-the-mill self-serve products out there. And trust me, I've used some of these self-serve products. I think that we need to play off of those pain points mentioned above and ultimately help trigger these events more deliberately rather than just waiting for them to happen naturally. Because let's be honest, they might not happen today, might take 6 months, might take a year. But if you can make sure to be more deliberate about these triggering events, I think it will help for sure. So Andy, let's get scrappy. Let's help Dustin turn these lean resources into a winning people first product launch with this new self-serve product.
Yeah. So I think to kind of give some broad strokes here, we have to embrace the model that you guys at TAC have kind of put together in that people first GTM model of partner-led growth. But really, when you look underneath that, includes event-led growth, product-led growth, and content-led growth. And we'll talk about that kind of interspersed within some ideas that we have here in a second. But when we think about the resources that Testimonial Hero has on the team, right? I don't look that, and really it is very lean resources, both monetarily and team wise, but I see that as an asset and an opportunity to really produce high quality professional videos, because that's what they do as a business. And I think that's something that's going to stand out when we think about how do we give maximum exposure to self-capture. Now, the other thing here, and this is going to, I'll say it pains me a little to say this at the moment because it's one of our core capabilities, is we're not going to do paid media to start here. The budget doesn't support it. And really, I think it's an uphill battle because you're going to be fighting against price-conscious searchers and other individuals who are going to look at the vouchers and things like that for cheap, quick win types of things. And that's not the message that we want to convey here with self-capture. So let's talk about some of these kind of ideas that will live among that demand gen initiative and engine that we want to build out here to tell that narrative and really focus on the value of the product, not just the product itself. The first, and I think the most important here, is we've talked a lot about what testimonial videos and written statements should be and can be, but we haven't really seen it be shown deliberately with purpose what the ideal state is. So I think idea number one here, when we think about that demand gen initiative, is the before and after, right? Creating those professionally edited self-capture videos from honestly some of the most random locations that exist out there for free. And this is offering it back to those people that are going to capture those videos. Testimonial Hero is a great product video on the site, right? But we're relying on people to come to the site to see it. Maybe it's getting used elsewhere and things like that. But if we can create kind of a halo effect here of soliciting videos and showcasing the power of the product for free, right? And really the value of the product on top of that, where, you know, I have my phone right in front of me and I'm capturing a video like here as I'm walking around an event space or I'm outside, things like that. Being able to blur out the background or change the background, remove the audience noise. You know, I have 2 kids, Nick has kids. Obviously, we get interrupted. There's no doubt about that, right? Being able to edit out all those random distractions here, but showing the distractions as part of that before viewpoint and then the after of the elevated brand presence and video, I think is a powerful statement here when it comes back to not just addressing the headaches and costs related to the process, but more importantly, the outputs and the quality that comes back into play when we think about the value being driven by the Testimonial Hero self-capture product, right? I mean, Nick, I think we put together a couple ideas here about how we can, without adding costs to the P&L, how we can start to solicit some of these videos to wrap in this campaign, right?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And so one of the things that, you know, I think will help is like the in-person events. So, you know, only for events that you already have budgeted for, not net new additional cost yet, but like these street interview style videos. You know who does a fantastic job of these is Morgan Ingram. I've seen him do a bunch of these. Will Aiken has done a bunch of these. And honestly, they do great. So now if you could do these streets interview style videos using the self-capture product, purposely having background noise. So do it in a noisy city like, you know, Boston, New York. Maybe you're next to the highway. Maybe you're next to the street. Maybe you're near a police station or fire station. Sirens are going off. Random people are walking behind you. Don't go to a private location. Don't make this fancy that you have to go to a studio or anything, but have the team clean it up quickly if possible, and send the interviewee an example of the power right in their hand. So like this would work best if the interviewee is in like the ICP of Testimonial Hero, but I think that it would be a fantastic way to be able to do this. And even if you don't have to sponsor these events, like you could just go, and honestly, it's a great networking opportunity anyways, but like, it's a great way to get out there, see that. The other one is, so you already have the Revenue Leaders podcast, Dustin. And so, fortunately, I've been a guest. Fantastic. Dustin's a great guy. Go check out the Revenue Leaders podcast if you haven't yet. But ask your guests if they can record a video promoting their appearance on the show by using this new self-capture product. So like, again, have the Testimonial Hero team clean it up, send the guests for use. And when they post on social about their show appearance, like it shows the ability to like use your own product in this. And like they were on the show, like they're probably willing to be able to go a little bit beyond that and do something like this. But there's a lot of other ways to leverage this too than just like your own podcast. And I think the third piece is like community 101. So like whether you're in LinkedIn or private communities, like you need to tap into the power of like the informal one-to-one connect conversations, like chat over coffee. Like I can't tell you how many amazing conversations that I have with other founders and CEOs that just like, you just start to talk and it's just so interesting. And my guess, Dustin, you're probably already in a lot of these communities and stuff like that. So I think use that as an opportunity to ask if the person would be comfortable filming a random video so you can show them what a polished up video would look like. And I think to make it more fun in a challenge, ask them to purposely film it with as many distractions, random backgrounds, whatever. So when you send them what that end product looks like, they're going to see how awesome this is. And how do you take something that's like uber rough into something that's like super sexy? Because let's be honest, like, again, go back to like, I have like babies crying upstairs and it's like, oh man, like if I could do that, like, I can't tell you how excited I would be if I was like having a conversation with you and you would let me try this out and I could go and you could give me something that's incredible that then I could go and post on social media. Like, game over right there. So those are just kind of some of the ideas that I think would fall under this whole like before and after piece. Now, Andy, I know there's another idea here. Why don't I throw it over to you?
Yeah, and I think that's playing off of how can we make the lives easier, right, and more impactful for not just the customers of Testimonial Hero, but ultimately the givers of the testimonials, as you were just describing, Nick. Because I think everyone loves a great hero story, but they also love a good villain story, which is kind of idea number two. So how can we play off of the fact that hero is literally in the brand name and come to the rescue of those in distress, right? By creating a villain, and not the villain in the case of like the traditional person, right? Or mythical creature or anything like that, but creating a villain around the process, right? Chris Walker does a great job historically of creating a villain mantra around software-based attribution and all those other tangibles. Well, the same thing and kind of ideology can come into play here when we think about the process. That comes back to right now how people are creating testimonials, especially video testimonials, right? You have the scheduling conflicts, you have the back and forth emails. I mean, it's the SDR kind of saga that we all talk about in the marketing space. But also when we think about like the end product that either costs a fortune to create and looks amazing, or the cheap alternative that exists out there, but it's going to look like crap. So I think no matter kind of how that outcome comes to play, like the process is a struggle for anyone that's involved. And the hero of the day here is Testimonial Hero with the self-capture product that streamlines the process, but delivers the output and the quality of the output at the end that elevates the game of the brand, that elevates the perception of the testimonial giver and the brand itself, right? And makes them heroes in the story. And I think the other thing too, when we think about creating a hero, right? It's about that story. It's about that narrative, which is the value add of Testimonial Hero beyond just the self-capture product. So that's why we need to kind of develop the villain here a little bit. Now, I'm no Hollywood script writer. I wasn't on strike either, so I'm not going to take that kind of credit. But some ideas when we think about like, what are some of the content assets that could roll up to kind of this tentpole? Well, things like, what are the real costs of creating testimonials, right? There's real costs, production costs, things like that. And then there's hidden costs. All the back and forth, all of the scheduling, all of the planning and prep and things like that, that takes ultimately time away from other activities, other to-dos, other actions that are probably revenue generating in some capacity, but from a bandwidth perspective, you're stretched thin, right? There's also the setup struggle, right? The real struggles of coordinating and setting up, but also, when we think about in person, the struggles of getting the lighting right, the struggles of making sure that my ring light is, at the right angle and things like that, so I don't have, random things popping up in my face. And then also when we think about the testimonial giver's point of view, right? Show their struggles of giving a testimonial. Show the back and forth that exists today that is overcome with the self-capture product. But also think about it from the lens of, how is a poor testimonial experience going to actually create assumptions around the quality of the internal operations that they have at a brand or the quality of the work that they're given. So I think the other thing too that I'll end this one on before we get into the last idea that we have is, I don't know if I'm suggesting go create some like fake hero that's going to run around with in tights and a cape and everything else. I think you could probably pull it off if you wanted to, but I don't know if you want to go to that level yet.
Andy, I feel like we kind of want to see you in like one of those like hero costumes or something. Halloween is next week, so
yeah, no.
All right, cool. So this is our first time doing this. So our goal was 30 minutes. There's 4 minutes to 30 minutes. We're going to keep on going. Stay with us. There's still more information. Let's dive into to idea number 3, which is really do's and don'ts of testimonials. So like ideally, like, let's be honest, like you need to create a value-packed education series that's both written and video content, specifically like snackables. Like, let's be honest, like I don't have time to watch like 45 minutes, an hour stuff. Like snackables is how I personally consume content and how I know a lot of others consume content, but it needs to focus on how to create testimonials that tell a story and make an impact. So it should be kind of a mix of brand, personally developed content to ensure it's really diversified in the delivery of that. And now, let's be honest. Like many people aren't going to pay a premium for Testimonial Heroes products and services. They either don't have the budget, again, thank you economy, or the decision-making power to pull the trigger. But that doesn't mean they will never become customers, though. If you can create and show value through the education and the expertise, it's one of the best and easiest ways for someone to recognize the company. I mean, I'm a perfect example of this. I've done this for years. Now, additionally, if you can use that same like hero mantra that Andy just talked about from like the villain concept, and you can have Testimonial Hero be the hero in a different way by helping brands elevate their testimonials on their own, that's how you're going to succeed. And I feel like you already have learning resources videos on YouTube, but to be frank, and Dustin, nothing bad about this, but like it's very much brand centered rather than audience focused when it comes to providing value and education. And I feel like additionally, like they focus on questions that feel aligned to those just getting started with testimonials, like why your business needs new employee testimonials. And given the price point of the product and the service, I think noobs, shout out to news. I used to play Halo and I used to always get called a noob. But like they'll likely be budget conscious and they're going to be gun shy about spending thousands on a self-capture video to start. So it doesn't make them bad. It's a different purpose, different buyer, nothing wrong with that. But to offset this, I think ultimately you're going to want to create written and video content. Keep it short, keep it snackable, value focused for the ICP, things like top 10 questions to ask in a customer testimonial to craft a good story, or checklist for testimonial success, infographic, short post on LinkedIn across the team, videos, they're going to work best there. So again, 3 ideas. I'm going to toss it over to Andy. We're going to talk about distribution, then we're going to start to wrap things up.
Yeah, so I led this off kind of by saying we're not doing paid media, and I'm going to stick to my guns there. But what this all does is create more content to diversify the existing social feeds and expand into the other ones. So, for example, right now, I checked out the LinkedIn feed of Testimonial Hero, and it's got great content, but it is kind of almost all from the Revenue Leaders podcast. So what we can do now with this content is diversify the feeds, right? It also gives us a great jumping off point for personal posts, whether that's put out by thought leaders such as you, Dustin, or internal team members. But to Nick's point, we were talking about kind of some of these ideas, especially that before and after, an opportunity to get kind of those other influencers and near-bound connections out there talking about and showing the value of the end product and output of that product on their own. I think it also gives us an opportunity to build out YouTube with more playlists and shorts. Like you have a solid foundation right now, especially with that learning resources playlist, but we can blow it out. And then obviously thinking about, okay, where else are our target customers and markets going to hang out online? I like to say, where do they commune and consume information? And I think TikTok is a great opportunity here because of the type of content that can come out of these ideas, but also thinking about the ICP of the space, right? B2B SaaS people that are going to be in marketing, that are going to be customer success, right? You're basically trying to market to Nick and I to some extent here, right? And I think TikTok is a great opportunity to dabble in for sure. And then lastly is blowing out the resources section of the website. You're creating awesome content. Now it's time to blow out that resources. Create that hub that people can find, that people can use, and create that opportunity that's going to allow you to interlink across the site, link out and use an email resources and nurture streams and sequences, and create that strong foundational content resource hub that's going to be the growth strategy for all the other mechanisms as the product grows over time, which will eventually get to you running paid media, but we're just not there yet. And I think one thing also that I'll just jump in here before we kind of get to ending today's episode is one other consideration here that's outside of these campaigns, but we think about people first, right? A lot of people in the B2B SaaS space, myself and Nick included, we just want the damn pricing. And Testimonial Hero has the pricing on the site. But for me, I feel like there's some confusion when I get to that page. And it might be just the length of it, it might be the structure of it, but like as I walk through that pricing page, I start to ask myself questions. Okay, so it's based off of a credit model when it comes to subscription costs. Well, what does a credit get me? What do I get for X amount of credits? And you eventually get to that in the flow. But also when I think about now you have 3 products, right? You have self-capture, you have on-site, you have remote. Well, what are the price points that I'm looking at for each of those opportunities and which one's best for me? Again, you get to it, but it's the flow of the page that eventually gets there. So I'm curious to see, when you look at heat mapping of the page in particular, where are people abandoning? Are they getting all the way through the page? Are they jumping early because they hit that first kind of section and content well, and they see pricing around credits and they're like, well, what the hell's a credit get me? I also just think, it would be interesting to think it through of whether it makes sense to split that page into multiple pages that talk about, the approach, the process, but also here's the pricing. And maybe that's per product, right? Product-based pricing pages, or just gateways, right? And the jumping off page from the initial pricing page itself. So lots of things to think through, but I think what's cool about this entire concept is there's so much to work with here. And there are so many resources and opportunities that exist at Testimonial Hero to make it and bring it to life. So
absolutely. Let's talk about the final 3 key takeaways. So if we had to wrap this up, I think there's 3 kind of key takeaways here. So lean into your strengths and resources as a strength, not a weakness. Your in-house skill set sets you apart, and it's a value add, not just to your customers, but to your marketing engine ultimately overall. Avoid the trap of jumping into paid media or other bottom funnel activities before you're ready. So they may look appealing or necessary, but I think you're going to have better success and a stronger ROI by focusing on creating a people-first demand engine first. Third one, get creative, get scrappy. I think there's, Andy, myself, we've hopefully given you tons of valuable advice here. Hopefully it was helpful. Please let us know. And Andy, let's talk about wrap up, next episode, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So this is the first episode of People-First Playbook. I would like to say that we're 4 minutes over, that's damn good. I'm not going to lie. That's damn good for what we had coming in here with. But for anybody that has feedback, suggestions, comments, like I mentioned when we kicked this thing off, reach out to Nick and I, DM us. We are absolutely open and want to hear your feedback, your criticism, constructive, hopefully. But we want to take this to the next level over the course of this series as we continue to move forward. And that next continuation is episode number 2, which is slated for next Wednesday, November 1st at 12 p.m. Eastern. We're excited to share that we're going to be talking about campaign for demand base, which most everybody in marketing and sales has probably heard of. So it's going to be an episode that you're absolutely going to want to chime in and check out. In the meantime, as we had running across the ticker here today, feel free to get updates on the show, upcoming schedules, things like that. Or if you have a campaign or initiative of your own that you want to submit for the show, check out People-First Playbook on the Dragon 360 website. Again, that page has been scrolling along the ticker, and we'll be happy to review it. And if you have any questions, comments, likes, you know, all those social vanity metrics that Nick and I care about every single day more than anything else, hit us up. Until next time, we'll catch you later. See yas.